The spaceport of Zythera was unlike anything Captain Marcus had ever seen. Towering crystalline structures shimmered under the twin suns, and ships of every imaginable design hummed and glowed as they prepared for departure. Among the busy docks, alien merchants shouted their offers, and guards in ornate armor moved with precise coordination, ensuring order in the chaos. Marcus adjusted the straps of his own armor, feeling both out of place and determined. Humans were visitors here, often underestimated by the galaxy's more advanced civilizations, but Marcus carried with him the quiet confidence that came from years of training, strategy, and surviving impossible situations. As he stepped onto the main platform, a sudden hush fell over a section of the crowd. Standing atop a raised dais, her figure radiating authority, was the young alien princess, Lyra. Her features were sharp and angular, framed by silver hair that seemed to shimmer with its own light. She wore a sleek armored exosuit, its surface reflecting the bright suns like liquid metal. Her eyes, an intense shade of violet, scanned the crowd until they landed on Marcus. A small, amused smile played across her lips. "Ah," she said, her voice lilting and musical yet carrying a subtle edge of mockery, "the famous human soldier arrives. Tell me, Captain Marcus, do your people always march into alien courts wearing armor 3 sizes too big?" Her gaze swept over his standard-issue suit, and a ripple of laughter passed through the crowd. Marcus felt a flicker of irritation but did not let it show. Instead, he straightened his posture and met her gaze steadily. "Your Highness," he said, bowing slightly in a gesture of respect. "Humans have learned that armor protects the body, but the mind, our strategy and quick thinking is what keeps us alive." "Against Zytheran elites," she said, voice dripping with amusement. "I have watched your people in holographic battles. You run, hide, and hope the stars are kind. Do you truly believe that will impress anyone here?" "Impression is not my goal, Princess," he replied evenly. "Understanding is. Perhaps one day you will see that humans do not fight like others. We adapt, we innovate, and we endure. Come, show me this human endurance if you dare." Marcus noticed that she carried herself with confidence born of privilege and experience, yet there was a playful challenge in her demeanor. "Tell me, human," she said, stopping just a few steps away, "how would you survive if I made this interesting, if I tested your so-called endurance and strategy?" He had been trained for combat, diplomacy, and negotiation in alien territories. He knew that a direct challenge could escalate into hostility, but he also understood that humans had an edge in situations that required creativity. "With respect, Princess," he replied, "I believe any challenge can be approached logically. We observe, we analyze, and we act. Sometimes the solution is not force, but understanding." "Very well, human. If you think you can withstand a trial, follow me. Let us see if your words carry weight in action." The walls shimmered as if alive, the light reflecting off Lyra's armor in dazzling patterns. Marcus could feel the subtle hum of energy coursing through the palace itself, a reminder of the technological marvels surrounding him. Lyra stopped at a large chamber, the doors sliding open with a quiet hiss. Inside, the room was vast, filled with intricate obstacles, platforms, and training equipment designed for elite Zytheran warriors. Some sections glowed with energy fields, others moved unpredictably, testing balance, reflexes, and intellect simultaneously. "This is your trial," Lyra said, her tone almost taunting. "A human navigating this should be amusing." She gestured toward the first obstacle, a moving platform suspended above a shallow pit of shimmering energy. Marcus studied it carefully. To an untrained eye, it might have seemed impossible, but he observed the patterns of movement and calculated his steps. With a deep breath, Marcus stepped onto the first platform. The surface shifted slightly under his weight, but his balance held firm. Using a small device on his wrist, he projected a temporary hologram to map the platform's rhythm, a technique he had devised to predict patterns quickly. Step by step, he advanced, drawing the attention of Lyra and the observing crowd. Lyra's eyes narrowed, her playful amusement giving way to curiosity. No human had moved through her palace's training grounds with such precision. She called out hints and taunts, testing his reaction time, yet Marcus adapted effortlessly, showing ingenuity in each move. The next challenge involved a sequence of energy gates that required both timing and speed. Marcus analyzed the delay in the gate activations and calculated the exact moments to dash through safely. He didn't rush blindly. Instead, he measured, adjusted, and acted decisively. The gates shimmered around him, but he passed through without error. Lyra's mouth opened slightly in surprise. The crowd murmured, impressed that a human could navigate the course designed for Zitharan elites. "Interesting," she said softly, almost to herself. "Perhaps humans are not entirely useless." Instead, he used his agility, anticipating the sequence of attacks and exploiting the small timing gaps between projections. When he reached the center of the chamber, the dummy toppled at the perfect moment. Marcus stepped back, breathing evenly, and glanced at Lyra. She had removed her hand from her chin, a rare gesture indicating genuine thought. You are different," she said, voice quieter now. "I expected a human to fail, to falter, to embarrass themselves. Yet you adapt, you think, you endure." She paused, as if weighing her next words carefully. "Perhaps there is more to your kind than I gave credit for. We may be underestimated, Princess, but humans have learned to turn challenges into opportunities. Adaptation is what keeps us alive, whether on a battlefield or in a court such as this." She stepped forward, raising a hand to her exosuit's control panel. A hum filled the chamber as the armor's energy fields intensified. "Very well, human," she said, voice firm once more. "If you wish to prove your claim fully, you must face me, not just the obstacles I have set. Let us see if your endurance holds when confronting the real challenge." "I face challenges as they come, with thought, skill, and strategy." "Let us see if your words are more than mere bravado." Here, in the heart of an alien palace, he would show that intelligence, adaptability, and courage could surpass the most daunting power. Lyra raised her hand, and the first move was made. Marcus adjusted his stance, eyes keen, mind sharp. The trial had truly begun. The chamber fell silent as Lyra activated her exosuit fully. Its energy fields pulsed in rhythmic patterns, reflecting off the walls like waves of liquid light. Marcus observed carefully, noting the subtle changes in the suit's movements and energy output. He understood that this was not just a test of agility, but of intelligence and strategy. Humans thrived on thinking creatively under pressure, and he intended to prove it. Lyra stepped forward, her movements precise and calculated. Each gesture seemed designed to intimidate, yet Marcus noticed a hint of curiosity behind her violet eyes. "Your first task is simple," she said, voice echoing slightly in the chamber. "Dodge my attacks while navigating the platforms. Fail, and you embarrass your kind before all who watch." The energy fields on Lyra's exosuit glowed brighter, signaling the start. Lyra lunged first, her movements lightning fast. Marcus ducked and rolled, using the platform's shifting surface to maintain balance. The alien princess was faster than any human could be, but he relied on his intelligence rather than brute strength. He anticipated her movements, using subtle shifts and timing to avoid direct contact while advancing across the platforms. The crowd outside the chamber murmured, watching through transparent walls. Whispers ran through the palace. Humans were considered weak, but Marcus moved with confidence and control. He leaped over a rotating barrier, rolled under a swinging energy pendulum, and used a small hand device to scan the platform's unstable sections for hidden supports. Every move was calculated, precise, and effective. Lyra paused midair, momentarily surprised. She had expected him to falter at least once, yet he adapted to her movements seamlessly. Her laughter, which had earlier been mocking, now carried a different tone, amusement mixed with respect. "Interesting," she muttered. "Perhaps humans do have more in their minds than I imagined." He paused briefly, calculating the timing and sequence. Then, with careful precision, he slipped through the gaps, barely brushing the edges. His movements were fluid, almost like a dance, yet every step was backed by logic and observation. Lyra's energy fields intensified. She moved faster, her exosuit projecting additional holographic images of herself to confuse and challenge him. Marcus recognized the trick immediately. The projections mirrored her movements with slight delays designed to disorient opponents. Instead of panicking, he observed the subtle differences in timing, identifying which figure was real and which were illusions. He moved decisively, bypassing the decoys and advancing toward the center. "Not bad," Lyra said aloud, a hint of admiration in her voice. "But you have not faced the true test yet." She extended her arms, and the chamber transformed. The platforms rearranged themselves into a complex labyrinth, energy walls rising and falling, forcing Marcus to think several steps ahead. Marcus adjusted quickly, scanning the new layout. This was no longer just a test of agility, it was a test of planning, observation, and foresight. Humans excelled in such challenges, relying on creativity rather than pure strength. He mapped a mental route, noting the timing of each wall and the safest path across the platforms. Lyra lunged again, faster than before, forcing Marcus to leap and dodge with perfect timing. She added unpredictable patterns to the labyrinth, attempting to trap him, but Marcus's mind worked quickly. He spotted a sequence that allowed him to use the wall's movements to his advantage, effectively letting the environment aid his navigation. With careful precision, he moved forward, bypassing the obstacles that might have stopped a less observant opponent. The alien princess's eyes widened slightly. She had seen many warriors navigate this chamber, yet none had combined speed, timing, and strategy like Marcus. She realized that this human was different. While most relied on strength or brute force, Marcus used intellect, observation, and adaptability, the qualities that often gave humans the edge in impossible situations. "You are clever," Lyra said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "Most humans I have met act recklessly. You adapt, you think ahead." She had been trained to believe that humans were inferior, clumsy, and weak. Yet here was one who not only survived her challenges, but thrived by using qualities she had underestimated. A flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Perhaps she had misjudged the human species entirely. The next obstacle was the most dangerous yet, a series of energy barriers that moved at irregular intervals, designed to strike anyone who miscalculated. Lyra stepped back, activating her exosuit's full power, ready to test him to the limit. Marcus took a deep breath, analyzing the pattern. He recognized the rhythm, the subtle pauses that indicated safe passages. Timing his movements perfectly, he darted through, slipping past the energy fields with barely a hair's breadth to spare. Lyra's mouth opened slightly, a silent expression of surprise. She had expected him to fail spectacularly, to stumble or falter under pressure. Instead, he navigated the labyrinth with precision, intelligence, and patience. She realized that humans, often underestimated, possessed qualities that even her advanced civilization could not match in certain situations. "You are impressive," she admitted softly, stepping closer. "Few could do what you have accomplished. Tell me, human, do you always succeed through thought alone?" But humans have learned that careful observation and quick thinking often outweigh raw power. We survive by adapting, finding solutions where others see only obstacles. She realized that the human before her was not just surviving. He was demonstrating the unique strengths of his species, qualities that could rival even the most elite Zitharan warriors. The final test lay ahead, a large, mechanical adversary designed to mimic a Zitharan elite. It moved with precision, reacting to Marcus's every motion, and its attacks were swift and unpredictable. Lyra's exosuit projected additional holographic duplicates to confuse him further. Marcus studied the patterns carefully. Strength alone would not win this encounter. He needed strategy, observation, and human ingenuity. He moved with calculated steps, dodging the mechanical warrior's attacks while exploiting small weaknesses in its design. Each maneuver was deliberate, combining agility with clever planning. He used the environment to his advantage, ducking behind energy barriers and leaping across platforms in ways the machine could not anticipate. Lyra watched in amazement as Marcus approached the center of the chamber. With a final, precise move, he triggered a mechanism that caused the mechanical adversary to deactivate, effectively neutralizing the threat. The holographic duplicates vanished, leaving him standing, calm and composed in the center of the chamber. A moment of silence followed. Then Lyra's laughter rang out, not mocking, but genuine and warm. "You have exceeded my expectations, human," she said. "I underestimated your kind. I see now that humans possess qualities that even we in our arrogance fail to recognize. Humans have survived in countless environments, against impossible odds by thinking, adapting, and enduring. That is how we succeed. You have shown courage, intelligence, and patience, qualities that even the most elite Zitharan warriors could learn from." In a court where humans were often underestimated, he had proven that intelligence, creativity, and calm thinking could surpass even the most formidable alien powers. Lyra deactivated her exosuit partially, stepping closer. "You have my attention, human," she said, her tone serious yet respectful. "I want to understand your kind better. Perhaps you can teach me some of these human strategies. Humans learn by sharing knowledge, and perhaps there is much we can learn from each other. There is much I wish to see, and perhaps much to learn." Through intelligence, adaptability, and courage, they had turned a situation designed to mock them into a demonstration of their strengths. The princess, once dismissive and mocking, now regarded him with a mix of curiosity and respect. Marcus knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge both humans and aliens alike, and he was ready. After all, humans thrived where others relied solely on strength. They survived, endured, and adapted, qualities that could change the course of entire civilizations. The palace corridors were quieter than the bustling spaceport outside, yet every step Marcus took echoed against the smooth, crystalline walls. Lyra walked ahead, her armored exosuit humming softly as the energy fields shifted with her movements. Though the previous trial had been designed to test his agility and intellect, Marcus knew that Lyra had yet to reveal the full extent of her skill. This next challenge would be different, more personal, and more dangerous in ways that relied less on raw power and more on wit. "You have done well so far," Lyra said, her voice calm but carrying an unmistakable edge of curiosity. "Few humans can navigate my palace's training chambers. Even fewer leave intact without making a fool of themselves." She glanced at him briefly, her violet eyes assessing every detail. "But now we enter a test not of obstacle courses, but of strategy. You will face me directly, human. I wish to see how your mind works against mine, when both skill and deception are involved." She pressed a control on her gauntlet, and the chamber ahead opened into a large arena. The walls were high, adorned with intricate alien glyphs that glowed faintly with energy. Platforms floated midair, shifting unpredictably. Energy barriers crisscrossed the arena, and mechanical drones hovered silently, their sensors poised to track movement. "This is not just a test of skill," Lyra said, stepping onto a floating platform at the center. "It is a test of perception, anticipation, and strategy. Every move you make will be observed. Every hesitation will be exploited." Unlike many species that relied on instinct and brute strength, humans excelled in using intellect to navigate complex environments. He made a mental map of the arena, noting which platforms were safe, which energy barriers moved in predictable sequences, and how to avoid the drone's detection zones. Lyra raised her hand, and the energy fields around her exosuit flared, sending a ripple of light across the arena. "Begin," she commanded. Marcus stepped forward, moving cautiously but deliberately. The first challenge was a series of floating platforms that rotated slowly while hovering above a pit of glowing energy. Many aliens could leap instinctively, relying on speed alone, but Marcus measured every jump, timing each movement to coincide with the platform's rotation. He used his momentum to land precisely, barely touching the edges but maintaining perfect balance. Lyra observed, noting his methodical approach. "Predictable," she muttered to herself, but her tone held a trace of admiration. Humans often acted recklessly when challenged, but Marcus's calculated movements revealed intelligence that few had anticipated. The next obstacle involved drones programmed to scan for movement. Marcus crouched behind a floating platform, observing the patrol patterns. He realized that the drones moved in fixed intervals, creating windows of opportunity to pass unseen. Timing his steps carefully, he dashed between cover points, avoiding detection. When a drone came too close, he used a small reflective device on his wrist to distract it, sending its sensors in a false direction. The alien princess's eyes widened slightly. He was thinking beyond mere reflexes, manipulating the environment to his advantage. "Clever," she whispered, her voice carrying across the arena. "Humans are more resourceful than I imagined." Instead of attempting to brute force through, he noticed that the barriers followed subtle energy fluctuations, patterns that indicated when openings would appear. Timing his movements precisely, he slipped through, each step calculated, each leap deliberate. Lyra's exosuit responded immediately, projecting multiple holographic copies of herself, each moving in synchronization with her real actions but slightly offset. The effect was disorienting, meant to confuse and intimidate. Marcus assessed the holograms, observing minute differences in energy signatures and the slight delays in movement. Identifying the real Lyra, he adjusted his path, weaving past the decoys and continuing toward the center. "You do not panic," Lyra said aloud, voice carrying both challenge and fascination. "Few can remain so composed when faced with such trickery. Humans are usually reckless. Panic is a luxury we cannot afford." He dodged and rolled, using momentum and timing to avoid direct hits. But he didn't just react, he anticipated. By observing her patterns and predicting her trajectory, he found ways to position himself advantageously, creating openings for movement that would allow him to advance despite her attempts to halt him. The princess's eyes narrowed. Marcus was no ordinary human. He thought and adapted in ways that surpassed expectation. Most species relied on physical prowess or instinct alone, but humans combined observation, calculation, and timing, creating strategies that often outmaneuvered even the most advanced technology. Now came the most complex part of the arena, a series of platforms that shifted in unpredictable sequences while energy barriers closed and opened around them. Drones monitored every movement, ready to strike at any misstep. Marcus took a deep breath, assessing the patterns. Instead of rushing, he waited for the optimal moment, then moved in a fluid sequence that combined speed with precision. Each step was measured, each jump calculated to avoid detection and maintain balance. The energy barriers closed just as he leapt from one platform to the next, and the drone's sensors never caught him. Lyra's mouth opened slightly in surprise. Even she had not anticipated that a human could navigate the arena with such precision. "Remarkable," she said softly, almost to herself. "You are not just enduring, you are mastering the challenge." He noticed small weaknesses in the suit's energy patterns, brief moments when certain systems were offline between power cycles. He realized that brute force was unnecessary. Intelligence and timing would be sufficient. Lyra lunged, striking with precise energy blasts, but Marcus dodged and countered, using the environment and his understanding of the suit's timing to avoid direct hits. Step by step, he maneuvered closer, exploiting the brief vulnerabilities in her exosuit. Each move was deliberate, nonviolent, and clever, emphasizing strategy over raw power. The princess paused mid-attack, her expression a mixture of surprise and admiration. "You are unlike any human I have encountered," she admitted. "Most would panic or fail, yet you anticipate, adapt, and overcome without aggression. Your kind truly does think differently. Humans survive by turning challenges into opportunities, not by relying solely on power. You are capable, resourceful, and remarkable." Lyra extended a hand, her armored fingers reflecting the light from the arena. "You have my respect, human," she said. "Few can navigate my challenges as you have. I wish to learn more about your kind, and perhaps even some of these strategies you have demonstrated. Humans learn by sharing knowledge, and I am willing to teach what I can. But you have already shown that your species is more formidable than I ever imagined." That simple truth had earned him respect in the heart of an alien civilization and set the stage for even greater trials to come. The palace doors closed behind them with a soft hiss, sealing the arena and leaving the echoes of the challenge behind. Marcus knew that Lyra's next tests would be even more demanding, requiring strategy, observation, and ingenuity at every turn. But he was ready. Humans survived, endured, and adapted, and this trial had only begun to show what they were truly capable of. The sun was beginning to set over Zithra, casting long shadows across the palace gardens, but Marcus and Lyra were far from the tranquil view. They walked through a quiet corridor lined with translucent walls, behind which shimmering pools of alien energy flowed, casting eerie reflections on the floors. The earlier trials had tested Marcus's skill and intellect, but Lyra's next challenge was different. This was not merely about survival or agility. It was a test of understanding, perception, and adaptability. Lyra moved ahead with her usual grace, her exosuit's soft hum the only sound accompanying their steps. "You have performed admirably in the arena," she said, her voice calm but carrying an edge of intrigue. "Few humans would have navigated it without faltering. Yet the real question remains. Can your species thrive when faced with deception, ambiguity, and decisions that must be made without full knowledge?" "Humans have learned," he replied evenly, "that obstacles often appear overwhelming only when one focuses on fear instead of opportunity. We analyze, observe, and act. That is how we endure. Follow me." She led him through a series of twisting corridors, their walls alive with shifting glyphs that seemed to rearrange themselves with every step. Marcus noted the subtle movements and changes, recognizing that the palace itself was now part of the challenge. The corridors were designed to confuse, to disorient, and to test perception, a far cry from the purely physical trials of the arena. At last, they arrived at a large chamber, its walls transparent and overlooking the city below. In the center stood a complex console, its holographic interface pulsing with energy. Panels and levers shifted constantly, displaying alien symbols and fluctuating data streams. Marcus recognized immediately that this was a test of strategy and logic, one that required careful observation and patience. "This," Lyra said, stepping to the side, "is your next trial. You must activate the control sequence to stabilize the energy flow in the palace. Fail, and you risk a temporary shutdown of critical systems. You will need to interpret the symbols, anticipate their interactions, and make precise adjustments. Speed alone will not succeed." Humans had a talent for identifying patterns and connections, even in seemingly complex systems. He began to observe the sequences, noting repetitions and anomalies, mentally mapping the logic behind the shifting symbols. Lyra watched silently, her expression unreadable. Marcus could feel her scrutiny, but he did not let it distract him. Every adjustment he made, every connection he identified, drew him closer to stabilizing the energy flow. He recognized that rushing would be fatal. Accuracy and understanding were paramount. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. Marcus manipulated the console with care, each movement deliberate, each sequence tested before execution. Small indicators began to align, confirming his observations. He noticed subtle cues that revealed hidden connections between the symbols, hints that only careful observation could uncover. Using logic and deduction, he corrected errors in the system and gradually brought the energy flow closer to stability. Lyra's eyes narrowed, her admiration growing. "Remarkable," she murmured. "You do not rely on brute force, but on thought, observation, and patience. Your kind truly has a gift for solving problems others might abandon in frustration." Observation and intelligence often outweigh power and speed. Instead of panicking or reacting impulsively, he observed each change, identified patterns within the chaos, and adjusted his strategy accordingly. His human instinct for problem-solving allowed him to see opportunities where the system seemed designed to trap him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the holographic displays stabilized. Energy readings aligned, and the previously fluctuating streams of light flowed smoothly through the palace systems. Marcus stepped back, his movements controlled but showing quiet satisfaction. He had succeeded, not through speed or strength, but through careful observation, logical reasoning, and adaptability, the very qualities that made humans formidable despite appearances. Lyra's expression softened, her usual arrogance replaced by genuine respect. "You have done what few could," she said. "I tested you not only physically but mentally, and yet you adapted at every turn. Humans, you truly are remarkable. I had underestimated your kind." Humans have learned to thrive not by relying solely on strength, but by observing, adapting, and finding solutions even in the most complex situations. It seems that is a quality that even your species can admire. "Perhaps," she said softly, "I have been too hasty in my judgments. I see now that humans possess not just survival skills, but ingenuity, patience, and wisdom. I want to learn how your mind works, and perhaps incorporate some of these strategies into my own approach." "Very well, then, we shall continue in the next chamber. There I will test you in ways that require not only skill and intelligence, but judgment, strategy, and adaptability. But know this, human, you have already impressed me greatly." Few beings have done so. Yet Marcus adapted seamlessly, observing and responding with the quiet confidence that had brought him success so far. Finally, they arrived at a vast observation chamber overlooking the palace grounds. Below, the city thrived under the glow of twin suns, and the distant mountains reflected the light in jagged, sparkling ridges. In the center of the chamber stood a series of platforms, each connected by delicate energy bridges. Lyra stepped forward, activating her exosuit systems once again. "This," she said, her voice carrying a serious tone, "is your next test. You will navigate the platforms while avoiding detection and responding to changes I will introduce in real time. It will test your observation, strategy, and composure. You will need to anticipate, adapt, and act quickly." Humans excelled in such scenarios, combining foresight with adaptability, and Marcus was ready to demonstrate these strengths once again. Lyra activated the test. Platforms shifted, energy bridges flickered, and holographic obstacles appeared. Marcus moved deliberately, calculating each step, observing every shift, and adjusting his path accordingly. When a holographic barrier appeared unexpectedly, he dodged and used momentum to cross safely. When a bridge flickered, he paused briefly, timing his movement perfectly to maintain balance. Lyra watched, her admiration growing with every step. Marcus was not only surviving the challenge, he was mastering it. His movements were precise, calculated, and creative, using both observation and ingenuity to turn potential hazards into opportunities. Finally, he reached the central platform. Lyra deactivated the holographic obstacles and stepped forward. "You have done more than survive," she said softly, her violet eyes fixed on him. "You have demonstrated intelligence, adaptability, and composure, qualities that make humans more capable than I ever imagined. Strength and speed are important, but thought and ingenuity often determine success. I see now that humans are not to be underestimated." "There is much more to learn, human," she said, "but you have already proven yourself. Perhaps together we can explore the limits of your species and mine." Marcus knew that the trials were far from over, yet he felt confident. Humans survived, endured, and adapted, and he had shown that these qualities were powerful beyond expectation. The palace air was thick with anticipation as Marcus followed Lyra through a long corridor illuminated by soft, pulsating lights. The earlier trials had tested his agility, intellect, and strategic thinking, but he knew that this final challenge would require all of his abilities, and more. Lyra moved with calm confidence, her exosuit humming softly as it adjusted to her pace. She had been impressed by Marcus, but she was not one to offer praise lightly. This final trial was designed to test judgment, adaptability, and the ability to remain composed under pressure. Marcus studied the corridor as they walked. The walls were made of transparent crystalline panels, and through them he could see the city of Zithra below, glittering in the fading light of the twin suns. Floating platforms and energy conduits stretched across the palace gardens, some shifting in rhythm with the palace's energy flow. This would be the arena for the ultimate test, a combination of physical, mental, and strategic challenges. Lyra stopped before a massive doorway. She pressed a control panel, and the doors slid open silently, revealing a grand chamber unlike any Marcus had seen. The room was enormous, circular, and layered with multiple levels of platforms connected by energy bridges. Holographic projections flickered across the walls, showing simulations of potential threats. Mechanical guardians, unpredictable energy fields, and moving obstacles that resembled the most elite Zitharan soldiers. "This," Lyra said, stepping onto the nearest platform, "is the culmination of your trials. Here, you will navigate shifting platforms, respond to simulated threats, and make decisions under pressure. Success will demonstrate not only skill and intelligence, but the true capability of humans in complex, dynamic environments. Failure is not fatal, but it will show the limits of your adaptability." Mechanical guardians emerged, scanning for movement, while holographic enemies mimicked the most advanced Zitharan tactics. Marcus observed carefully, his mind mapping multiple possible paths and contingencies. Humans excelled at adapting to unpredictable situations, and this challenge would let him demonstrate that fully. The first step was delicate. He moved across a narrow energy bridge, adjusting his balance as it tilted unpredictably beneath him. A holographic guardian lunged toward him, and he leapt to the next platform, narrowly avoiding its attack. His human ingenuity allowed him to recognize patterns in the guardian's movements and exploit openings that seemed invisible to the untrained eye. Lyra watched silently, impressed by his composure. Most beings faced with such dynamic obstacles would panic or act impulsively. Marcus, however, observed, adapted, and executed his plan with precision. He moved as if he were both part of the arena and separate from it, understanding its rhythm while remaining independent of it. The next challenge required strategic thinking. Several platforms were rigged with energy pulses that could destabilize anyone who stepped on them. Marcus noted the timing of the pulses and planned his route carefully. He waited for the optimal moment, then darted forward, landing precisely where the pulses would not reach. One step at a time, he advanced, calculating speed, distance, and timing in real time. Lyra decided to increase the difficulty. She activated additional holographic adversaries, projecting multiple copies of herself across the arena. The illusions moved with precision, each designed to confuse and distract. Marcus paused, observing the slight inconsistencies in their movements. He identified the real Lyra by noticing subtle shifts in energy signature, a detail only someone who paid close attention would catch. Timing his movement perfectly, he navigated past the illusions, drawing closer to the center. "You are impressive," Lyra admitted, her voice carrying across the chamber. Few could navigate this maze while anticipating changes I introduce. Humans, you think in ways even we often overlook. A central platform rose, suspended by energy conduits, and mechanical guardians approached from multiple directions. Energy barriers crisscrossed unpredictably, and the holographic projections intensified. Marcus had only seconds to make each decision, yet he remained composed. He used his observations to anticipate the Guardians' attacks and the energy barrier's movements, finding openings to advance while avoiding direct confrontation. Lyra activated her exosuit's enhanced systems, moving herself across the platforms with incredible speed and precision. Marcus watched carefully, predicting her trajectory and adjusting his movements accordingly. He didn't rush. Instead, he synchronized his actions with the environment, using timing and strategy rather than force. The human's ingenuity became clear. He manipulated the environment, using the energy conduits as temporary shields and guiding the mechanical guardians into positions where they could not block his path. His movements were precise, deliberate, and creative. Each step demonstrated intelligence, observation, and adaptability, the qualities that made humans remarkable in the eyes of those who underestimated them. Lyra's expression softened. She had expected this challenge to test his limits, but instead, Marcus was mastering it. He was not merely surviving, he was thriving, turning the arena's chaos into opportunity. "I see now," she said softly, almost to herself, "why humans endure. You do not rely solely on strength. You observe, anticipate, and adapt. You turn challenges into advantages." "This trial has shown that humans can thrive in dynamic and unpredictable situations," he said. "We endure because we think, adapt, and remain composed, even when others might fail. You have demonstrated the defining qualities of your species: intelligence, ingenuity, and calm under pressure. I underestimated humans, but you have shown me that they are formidable beyond expectation. We survive not by relying solely on strength, but by observing, analyzing, and finding solutions where others see only obstacles. You are capable of greatness, even in environments designed to challenge the most skilled beings in the galaxy." "You have earned my respect, human," she said. "Few beings could navigate both the physical and mental challenges I have presented and emerge victorious. I am honored to witness the capabilities of your species firsthand." It was rare for Zitharan elites to acknowledge another being's skill so openly, especially a human. Yet here he was, proving that humans could excel through intelligence, strategy, and adaptability. "Your achievements today," Lyra continued, "show that humans can thrive in ways we had not imagined. Perhaps it is time for us to reconsider our assumptions, to learn from each other, and to explore what can be accomplished together. You have proven the worth of your kind. From this day forward, humans will be regarded not merely as visitors or curiosities, but as beings capable of remarkable ingenuity and resilience." Marcus had not only succeeded in the trials, but had demonstrated the defining qualities of humanity: observation, adaptability, intelligence, and composure. He had earned Lyra's respect, transformed her perception of humans, and shown that even in a universe of advanced civilizations, humans possessed unique strengths that could change the course of events. As they left the chamber together, Lyra glanced at Marcus. "There will be more challenges in the future, human," she said. "But you have shown me that your kind can face them with courage and wisdom. I am eager to see what you and your people will accomplish next." Humans had always endured against the odds, adapted when circumstances seemed impossible, and turned challenges into opportunities. Today, in the heart of an alien civilization, he had shown that these qualities were not only alive, but could inspire respect and admiration in even the most skeptical observers. The palace doors opened to the evening sky, twin suns casting a warm glow over the city below. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the significance of the moment. Humans had been underestimated once again, yet they had risen to prove their worth. It was a reminder that intelligence, creativity, and adaptability could surpass strength, and that humanity's greatest achievements often came when others doubted them. Lyra walked beside him, her demeanor transformed from mockery to genuine curiosity and respect. "You have shown me much, human," she said. "Perhaps together, we can explore the limits of both our species and discover what truly can be achieved when intelligence, strategy, and courage are applied wisely." Humans, often underestimated and overlooked, had proven their strength lay not only in physical ability but in intellect, creativity, and the courage to face the unknown. Lyra had seen it firsthand, and in doing so had begun to see humans in a way no one on Zithra had before, as equals, as innovators, and as a species capable of remarkable feats. The trials had ended, but the journey was only beginning. Together, Marcus and Lyra would navigate the complexities of their worlds, combining human ingenuity with Zithran resources, forging a path that neither species could have achieved alone. And through it all, one truth remained clear. Humans endured, adapted, and thrived, turning every challenge into an opportunity to shine. Young alien princess mocks human soldier. He removes her armor and makes her unable to speak.